The Galactic Combat Academy's training hall fell silent as Victoria stepped onto the sparring mat. Around her, cadets from 17 different species watched with barely concealed amusement. Humans were still novelties here, soft, weak, primitive creatures who had only recently discovered faster-than-light travel. The galaxy had been skeptical when Earth applied for membership in the Interstellar Coalition, but humans had insisted on proving themselves. Instructor Zolther, a 7-foot-tall Craxian with 4 arms and exoskeletal plating that could deflect plasma rounds, crossed his lower arms while his upper ones gestured dismissively. "Another human," he rumbled, his translator rendering his words in flat, condescending tones. "Tell me, cadet, what makes you think your fragile species belongs among warriors?" Victoria's expression remained neutral, though her dark eyes tracked every micro-movement the instructor made. She'd studied Craxian physiology for weeks, memorizing their joint structures, their center of gravity, their overconfidence. "Permission to demonstrate, sir," she said quietly. Zolther's mandibles clicked in what passed for laughter among his kind. "By all means, strike me. Use your full strength. Show us what humanity offers." The other cadets leaned forward. This was entertainment, watching another human fail, watching them learn that their species was simply outmatched by beings who had evolved on higher gravity worlds, who had been forged in crucibles that made Earth look like a paradise. Victoria didn't move. "Not yet. What's wrong, human?" Zolther taunted. "Perhaps you've realized." She moved. Her hand shot out. Not with the wild swing Zolther expected, but with surgical precision. Her fingers locked around his primary wrist, not trying to overpower him, but finding the exact pressure point where his radial nerve cluster converged. Victoria's other hand struck the inside of his elbow, exactly where Craxian exoskeletal plates left a gap. Zolther's arm buckled. His biology betrayed him. The nerve cluster sent distress signals his brain couldn't ignore. Victoria twisted, stepped inside his guard, and used his own forward momentum against him. She didn't try to muscle the massive alien down. She simply redirected his weight, found his center of balance, and removed it. The Craxian instructor dropped to his knees with a thunderous crash that echoed through the training hall. Silence. Victoria maintained her grip, keeping just enough pressure to ensure Zolther couldn't rise without damaging his own joint structure. "Sir," she said calmly, "humans don't rely solely on strength. We adapt, we learn, we find angles nobody expects." Across the training hall, scanners embedded in the walls began updating their threat assessment databases. Victoria's profile, previously marked as minimal risk, began climbing through the ranks. But she wasn't finished. "Jose," she called without looking away from the frozen instructor. "Demonstration 2. A young man stepped out from the crowd of cadets, his movements casual but controlled. Jose was average height for a human, with the lean build of someone who understood that efficiency mattered more than bulk. He'd been watching the Dravix cadets, massive reptilian beings whose crushing strength made them prized as shock troops. "The Dravix specialization is close quarters, overwhelming force," Jose said conversationally, approaching one of the alien cadets who stood nearly twice his size. "They're bred for it. Their muscles have triple the density of human tissue. Their bones don't break, they shatter opponents." The Dravix cadet, Kamash, growled low in his throat. "You dare, I dare," Jose interrupted. "Because I don't need to be stronger than you. I just need to be smarter." He gestured to the training dummy beside them, a standard combat android programmed with basic defensive routines. "Your turn first. Show them Dravix power." Cormash's pride wouldn't let him refuse. He approached the dummy instructor, devastating blow that tore the android's arm clean off and sent sparks cascading across the mat. The other cadets nodded approvingly. This was power they understood. "Impressive," Jose acknowledged. "Now watch." He approached another dummy, studying it for 3 seconds. Then his hands moved a quick strike to a joint, another to what would be a pressure point on most humanoid species, a third that compromised the dummy's balance algorithms. The android collapsed, completely disabled, with all systems intact. "Dravix win through destruction," Jose explained. "Humans win through understanding. We take things apart because we spent 10,000 years making tools, building machines, learning how every component connects to every other component." He looked at Kamash. "You destroyed, I disabled. Which skill is more valuable when you need to capture, not kill? When you need to extract information? When you need to salvage technology?" Throughout the training hall, more scanners updated. The human threat assessments continued climbing. Victoria finally released Zolther, stepping back as the instructor rose slowly to his feet. His mandibles clicked, but the sound was different now, thoughtful rather than dismissive. "The scanner protocols," Zolther said slowly. are updating your species classification. We noticed, Victoria replied, from minimal threat to do not challenge. The instructor's 4 eyes narrowed. How? Because you measured us by your standards, Jose said, rejoining Victoria on the mat. You looked for thick armor. We developed tactics. You looked for overwhelming strength. We developed leverage. You looked for individual power. We developed cooperation. Victoria gestured to the other human cadets scattered throughout the hall. There were only 12, but each had been quietly studying, learning, cataloging every species' strengths and weaknesses. On Earth, we weren't the strongest. We weren't the fastest. We didn't have claws or fangs or armor plating. But we had something else, the ability to look at any problem and find an unexpected solution. We had endurance, Jose added, persistence, the capacity to chase prey for days until it collapsed from exhaustion, the patience to watch and wait and learn. And we had each other, Victoria finished. Humans don't fight as individuals. We fight as units. We cover weaknesses. We combine strengths. We make the whole greater than the sum of its parts. Zoltha was silent for a long moment. Then his mandibles clicked again, this time in what Victoria had learned was Craxian respect. The Academy has trained warriors from 400 species, he said quietly. Most fail because they cannot adapt, cannot learn, cannot accept that their way is not the only way. He looked at Victoria, then Jose, then the other humans. Your species arrives with no natural weapons, no armor, no advantages, and you treat that as an opportunity rather than a limitation. Sir, Victoria said, on Earth, we have a saying, good boy. We use it when something has done exactly what we trained it to do, followed instructions perfectly, behaved as expected. She smiled slightly. You expected us to fight like you. We didn't. The instructor's posture shifted in acknowledgement of defeat that rippled through the watching cadets. The scanners will learn, he said, as will we all. As Victoria and Jose left the training mat, scanners throughout the Academy continued their updates. Beside each human profile, a new designation appeared in glowing text. Do not challenge adaptability. Extreme humanity had arrived in the galaxy, and the galaxy was learning to pay attention.